Support for Steppin Out comes in part from the Kristovich family in honor of Mary Lou and Bill Kristovich. This program is sponsored in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support the arts and culture in the greater New Orleans area.
I'm Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out, with updates on the local restaurant, arts, and entertainment scene. Joining me, Poppy Tooker, host of Louisiana Eats, heard on WWNO radio. Hey, Poppy, good to see you.
Hi.
Ann McNulty, food writer for the Times-Picayune, New Orleans Advocate. Hey, Ann. Hello.
Hey, Peggy. Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. Alfred Richard, movie critic for WWL-TV. Hello, Alfred.
Hello there from the secret broadcast cave.
Okay. And joining us later, theater critic Alan Smason. But first up, Poppy, even though Commander's Palace is closed, they still have a lot going on, don't they?
Oh, they're pretty busy. So my favorite thing is they're weekly hosting a cocktail party that they're calling Don't Stand So Close to Me. And the way that it works is you place your order by Monday, and then this event is happening every Wednesday at 6:30. And Dan Davis, their wine guy, personally selects 3 very special bottles of wine that arrive at your door along with cheeses from St. James Cheese, and everybody gets to play along. And, you know, they're having some fun over there. T. Martin sent us a special message.
Hi, T. Martin here, aka Lucy. Missing Ethel. Yep, even Lucy and Ethel are doing social distancing. We get it. Wear gloves, wear a mask, wash your hands like your life depended on it. At Commander's Palace, we're taking a pause, and we're giving to the heroes on the front line through feedthefrontlinesnola.org. But we'll be back, just like you. But for now, stay home, stay healthy, and stay positive.
To help support the crew of Red Beans Feed the Front Line effort, they are mounting an auction that goes on until next Sunday. And they're auctioning dinner for 8 from Commander's Palace at your house. Tori's coming to the house. He's bringing, it's 5 courses, it's 5 rare wines, it's the wait staff, it's the linen, it's everything. And so you can get in and start bidding now on eBay, and what a wonderful effort.
Absolutely. Thank you, Poppy. We'll be back with you shortly. But first up, Ian, tell us about how some restaurants are actually feeding a lot of their former employees. They've had to lay them off, but they're trying to do something else, aren't they?
Peg, I think a lot of people are familiar with the idea of family meal. In restaurants, what that is something cooked up for the staff before service, before that busy rush, so they got a meal with them. And, it goes deep into restaurant culture. Well, that has been transformed under the circumstances that all restaurants are dealing with right now. And a number of restaurants here in New Orleans have taken this idea and reinterpreted it for the coronavirus crisis and the hand that they had been dealt across the industry. It's taken different forms in different places, but the end goal is to get food into the hands of people who may have lost their jobs suddenly, or just to give them, a sense of solidarity, to give them a sense of, people are looking out for them and, hey, we're all in this together. We've seen examples run the gamut. Blue Oak Barbecue, that's a place that's still up and running, has most of its staff on actually, and has done quite well with barbecue takeout. On Saturdays, they've been mounting this bag lunch campaign where they give away bag lunches to hundreds of people from the service industry who show up, often with partner restaurants. The last one was Cajun Kettle, which is the maker of Crawfish Monica, the Jazz Fest staple. They were busy with them out there last weekend. But across town, you see different interpretations of this. Creole Cuisine Restaurant Concepts is a huge company. If you're not familiar with the name, you're definitely familiar with some of their restaurants. Broussard's is one of them. Boulevard out in Metairie is another.
Gumbo shop, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, more than 20 restaurants. A gumbo shop's not one of them, but many, many restaurants in the French Quarter. They have, unfortunately, so many people out of work because so many of their restaurants are closed, but they are feeding them to the tune of 5,000 meals at a time, not just for their own laid off staff, but they want to give these folks food that they can share with their families, elders they may be taking care of, even neighbors across the street, something like that. And it keeps them in regular touch with their employees during this time of separation. Ralph Brennan Restaurant Group is another example of that. Redfish Grill is closed. That's their Bourbon Street restaurant, but it's become sort of this ad hoc employee community center where they hand out meals and also resources for keeping in touch with the company, for finding assistance and benefits. So they're using it for more than just here's a meal, but a way to stay connected. Restaurateurs tell me when this is over, when they can start reopening, when they can start getting back to normal, however that goes, they're going to want their people back. Donald Link's Restaurant Group is another great example of that. Cochon down in the Warehouse District. They've reopened for takeout through Cochon Butcher, but in the back of the restaurant, the big restaurant there that's usually so festive, so filled with great times in that place, has been turned into a place where people who used to work for the company can come, get a meal, see some familiar faces, maybe have a laugh. Sometimes the people handing out these meals are wearing costumes, they have themes that they're doing, and it's good food. It's good Louisiana food that they're giving them, not only for them, but for the people they may be taking care of back home. So it really takes that idea of family meal that has its roots in the restaurant business and extends it out to a bigger interpretation of what family means during this hard time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And Alfred, we are having, as it turns out, quite a lot of time on our hands. And
yes,
folks want to know, what can they possibly watch? And this time with the New Orleans theme, some of your favorite films.
Well, when I was compiling this idea, I wanted to at first think of the New Orleans shot films that have a New Orleans theme. I specifically avoided a classic film called Panic in the Streets. It's about a virus that hits the Americas and, of course, New Orleans. So I thought, maybe not a good one for this time. But I have a few. But I have a few that you probably can find, and you can find on the different streaming systems as well. And if you happen to have VHS, Beta, 3/4 inch, whatever, you may be able to still find these as well. This is a good one from 2008, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, of course, filmed in New Orleans. This is the one where Brad Pitt is born as an old man and gets younger and younger. Great cast in there, and of course, a lot of great background of New Orleans. Also starring Cate Blanchett, Tilda Swinton, Mahershala Ali before Moonlight, before he was, of course, an Oscar-winning actor. Jared Harris, the son of Richard Harris, and of course, a lot of New Orleans names. And you'll love watching that film because you'll notice all of those sites in New Orleans just after Hurricane Katrina. It's a good film, and it's also available on Fandango now, on Prime Video, Apple TV, and Vudu. So most of these films will be found on those areas. A classic film, you've got to go to this one from 1951, A Streetcar Named Desire. It's really great when you see that opening shot of New Orleans at the train station at the foot of Canal Street, which, as Benny Grunch would say, ain't there no more. But of course, the performances of Marlon Brando, Vivian Leigh, Kim Hunter, Carl Malden, you can't get much better than that. It really is. There are only a few shots in New Orleans, but it does give that feel of being in the French Quarter. And one that was filmed in New Orleans very early on, one of those films made in the city of New Orleans from 1965, The Cincinnati Kid. And this is one with Steve McQueen and Eddie G. Robinson. Sorry, Edward G. Robinson. It's not like I know Eddie. Edward G. Robinson. You have Carl Malden again, Tuesday Weld, and Anne Margaret as the two protagonists. Steve McQueen and Edward G. Robinson are in a high-stakes poker game in the city. And it's great seeing New Orleans, of course, set in 1960s, but it's supposedly set around the 1920s, 1930s. So they do a little creative way to make New Orleans look older, but it really is fun, and the game between Robinson and McQueen is exemplary.
Thank you, Alfred. We're going to come back to you for two more in just a minute, but back over to Poppy to talk a little bit about Brennan's and that Ralph Brennan.
Oh, well, the Easter Bunny paid a very special visit to Brennan's last week, and I wanted to share that with you first.
Here comes Peter Cottontail, hopping down the Champagne Trail to savor for your Easter quarantine. Bringing all the girls and boys baskets full of adult joy. Mask and gloves and Purell keep you clean. As he pops the cork, he'll say, make sure you're 6 feet away. Hope you have a bubbly Easter day. Happy Easter from Brennan's. We miss you.
That was Brennan's general manager, Christian Pendleton, in the bunny suit. And he's uploading new videos to their Facebook site every Friday at 5 o'clock when he'd be normally savoring the champagne. And then in Ralph's group, he has one restaurant that is still open, and that's Ralph's at the park. Ralph's by the Park is open for pickup and takeout Wednesday through Sunday. The menu changes every day. It's $25 for dinner for two, $50 for four, with very deeply discounted bottles of wine. Wednesday night steak night, Thursday night shrimp creole. I really am looking forward to dinner tomorrow night. It's braised short ribs and burger nights on Sunday.
All right. Thank you so much. And back to Ian for a minute. If there's any tried and true dish in New Orleans, it's red beans, but that's taking on a whole new meaning too, isn't it?
Gosh, Peggy, you know it is. You say red beans in Louisiana, people think, oh, Monday staple, here we go. Comfort food, right? Well, if ever there was a time for comfort food, it's now. And if ever there was a dish for the times, I think it's red beans and rice. The way I've been thinking about this dish lately, and frankly, the way I've been seeing it used out in the community, makes me think that this is really the epitome of that motto that we hear, standing together but apart. Red beans and rice is the edible epitome of that sentiment. And I'll tell you why. You see red beans and rice everywhere these days. You see them at these community feeding efforts, some of which we talked about earlier. And you see them at things that are just meant to support one another. These meals brought to the frontline workers, the hospitals, the first responders, the police. Red beans and rice, it's a perfect dish for this because, yeah, you can make a lot of it. Yeah, you can stretch it. But also it speaks of here, doesn't it? It speaks of Louisiana, of New Orleans, of home. It's a significant dish. People across Louisiana, they've been stretching red beans and rice through hard times forever. But also it's significant that we use it a lot when we're celebrating. Good times, tailgates, parade parties. Anytime you're feeding a gang and want it to taste like home, red beans and rice is usually in that number. This is a dish that has a lot of heart and grit to it. It has a legacy, really, of fortitude, of getting through things, and also of togetherness. And if there's anything I think that we need right now as a community, it's a good dose of heart and grit, that fortitude and sense of togetherness that's going to get us through this, even when we're apart. So the next time you cook red beans and rice, next time you order it takeout from one of your favorite places, next time you see it at one of these community feeding efforts, next time your neighbor has a little too much in her batch, wants to share it with you, just think, this is New Orleans in a bowl. This is Louisiana in a bowl. This is what we need for right now.
Sounds good to me and great for the morale. Thank you so much, Ian. And now, two more movies, please, Alfred, that you'd recommend.
All right, no problem, Peggy. And Ian, this film that I'm going to recommend has a little food flair to it as well. It's the Disney animated film, The Princess and the Frog. Of course, set in New Orleans, and the I guess you could say the idea for the young lady who plays Princess Tiana in The Princess and the Frog is based on the late, great Leah Chase and her restaurant Dookie Chase. And we all know her gumbo zerb. And of course, I remember being around Dookie Chase when she would say, I really enjoyed your Dancing with the Stompers. And she thought that was her favorite one. But again, a really good movie, great musical background, and it makes New Orleans look good animated. So that one is available, Fandango, Netflix, Prime, Apple, Vudu, just about anywhere, and of course, Disney Plus. And another film that has a New Orleans bent to it, but usually you would think I would throw a flag at this film, especially for the accent from one actor, but because we are in these times, I'm going to be a bit more lenient. It's 1987's The Big Easy, starring Ellen Barkin and Dennis Quaid with probably the worst New Orleans accent ever. Lots of shares in that film, and I don't mean the one who would appear at the Smoothie King Center. But it has, of course, some great talent. Ned Beatty, New Orleans' own John Goodman, Irma Thomas, and George Deroe in the film, and other New Orleans actors and other New Orleans specialties. And it gives a flavor of the city pre-Katrina. So if you want to take a look of what New Orleans was like, even though you'll have to deal with Dennis's New Orleans accent, if you use that, The Big Easy is right up your alley.
All right, thank you so much, Alfred. And now it's time to hear from Alan Smason of theatercriticism.com and Crescent City Jewish News. Alan?
Well, and Peggy, I'm back once again with more theater news. The NOLA Theater Folk group that we have on Facebook has a live stream, and last week I was able to have Anthony Bean of Anthony Bean Community Theater on, and we surprised him with none other than Irma Thomas, who he'd had a production with a few years ago, and he had a blast. And then earlier this week, I wanted to remind everybody we had Brian Batt on, and he had a blast because he also had been surprised with Alan Campbell, who was the star of Sunset Boulevard opposite Glenn Close in the role of Joe Gillis that Brian had actually been the understudy for that particular production. And again, Stuart Zagnett also was on. Stuart was the mayor of Whoville from Seussical the Musical, in which Brian also was the standby for the Cat in the Hat. Again, they all worked together, and Brian, of course, did go on occasionally as both Joe Gillis in Sunset Boulevard and as the Cat in the Hat. Again, some other people from the local community came and paid a visit as well. Janet Daly Duval to talk a little bit about Le Petit, and Leslie Castay to reminisce about their Broadway common experiences they had. Again, thank you all for all those people who showed up, and also to let everybody know that these things are going to be posted and still archived on Facebook. You might want to also look for Margot Fanning, as well as Catherine Talbot, who both did readings from Tennessee Williams' Sweet Bird of Youth for appropriately last weekend's Easter weekend. And again, speaking of holidays, the end of Passover was tonight. But last Saturday night, it was all about Saturday Night Seder. This was a fabulous production, a series of pre-taped clips with some wonderful Broadway stars, including Tony Award winners Idina Menzel. We had Stephen Schwartz and Cynthia Erivo during what I believe from The Prince of Egypt, the movie. Also, Ben Platt was on, and Bette Midler, who appeared as Elijah. Again, if you want to check it out, they have a whole group of people who are Jewish or not Jewish, including Billy Porter. They've got just a number of wonderful stars. You'll love to check that out. Harvey Fierstein, Deborah Messing, etc. Now, streaming on the internet now, we have some wonderful opportunities for you to see as well. Let me first tell you about Phantom of the Opera, the 2011 production that was done from Royal Albert Hall. That is going to be seen on YouTube for a brand new channel called The Shows Must Go On. This is Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber's own channel, and you'll be able to see the Phantom of the Opera as several other of the Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber pieces that'll be there. And then also coming up, Michael Urie's live stream of Buyer and Seller, the story about the fellow who takes on the challenge of working at the Barbara Streisand estate. He was brilliant in this. That's going to be this coming Sunday, April the 19th, at 6 o'clock New Orleans time, a benefit for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. And then tonight, you have just a few minutes left, literally, to see the link for Bandstand starring Laura Osnes. If you purchase it tonight, you will be able to see it for the next 72 hours. Again, those links are still going to be good, and hopefully you'll be able to check those things out. Also, just wanted to let you know that in case you wanted to learn more about the NOLA Theater Folk Group, just go to Facebook and you can join that group and get alerts on when those streams are going to be seen. Of course, the streams are now being broadcast on Mondays at 8 o'clock and on Fridays at 8 o'clock. That's it, Peggy.
And now it's time for our picks of the week. Poppy!
If you're a fan of Coquette on Magazine Street, and who isn't, they are resuming their no menu dinners. This is when it's a mystery what the dinner is going to be. They come up with a certain theme, and this is going to be available every week for pickup on Friday or Saturday, and it's going to be a bag full of deliciousness.
All right, Alfred.
All right. Well, this film has nothing to do with New Orleans, except a little tribute to my good friend Danny O'Flaherty and the old O'Flahertys. This is Waking Ned Devine, a great little film about an Irish town that discovered one patron has won the $6 million Irish lotto, and they try to find out who won the big money. Really fun and enjoyable movie.
All right, Ian.
These little places around town that I've been loving, they're called Gita Pita. And it's a Middle Eastern concept. It's been around for about a year now. One opened in Central City inside the Red Zone convenience store. Another one just opened in March in Mid-City at the Red Zone near the hospitals and the Waffle House. It's terrific for these times because it's made for takeout. It's these great shawarma wraps and hummus bowls. It's fresh, it's easy. They're in convenience stores, which are still open anyway. So it's a concept that combines a little of the old, a little of the new, and is actually just right for what we're dealing with right now.
All right, thank you. Now let's hear from Alan.
For my pick tonight, Peggy, I'd like to mention once again about our NOLA Theater Folk Group. We're going to be having a wonderful get-together after this show's over with the entire Fouchi family. That's Kelly Fouchi and Mark Fouchi and Savannah and Tess. That'll be on tonight again. And then Monday night, Jim O'Quinn, Ted Main, myself, and a number of other theater critics will be on to discuss the whole concept of theater criticism. And we're looking forward to that. And then next Friday, Kalo Gao from UNO will be on. So check all that out. That's my pick for tonight. See you at the theater.
In case your Easter celebration felt a bit odd last week, here is a video message from Trinity Episcopal Church. We're showing an excerpt from this, starring artist Tim Trapolin, and it's called Stealing Easter in the Style of Dr. Seuss, as told and written by Andy Thayer. Let's take a look.
Then the kids would hunt Easter eggs, the hullabaloo. And we'd celebrate with a mimosa or two. The trumpets, the lilies, the dresses, how pretty, the bow ties, the anthems, even the sermon was witty. Everyone's happy when Easter arrives, the sisters, the brothers, the husbands, the wives. But this year would be different from all of the rest. We would not get together, and who could have guessed that a virus which is terribly small, could keep us so distant, the tall and the small. And I can hear the smallest child of them all saying, "Why aren't we going to church today? Why are you taking our Easter away?" And the answer, though necessary, is painful to say. And the church will be empty, even on Easter Day. Why must we remain in our own family houses while the church's only occupants are the little church mouses? And the church would sit empty? No singing of songs, no ringing of bells or banging on gongs? On this day of Christ's rising, we'd all stay away. But the story's not over, I'm so glad to say. You couldn't be faulted if you had assumed that on Easter our church would be still like a tomb. But maybe you feel it, and deep down you know. It starts sort of dimly, but then starts to grow. That Easter is coming if you open your eyes. Resurrection is happening. What a shocking surprise. Every Christian on Easter, the tall and the small, could live resurrection without a service at all. The virus hadn't stopped Easter from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the image of Christ, the divine spark set aglow, is always with us. But how could it be so? It comes when we see through God's Easter lens. It comes when we practice Easter with friends. Maybe Easter, we see, doesn't just come once a year. Maybe it's with us, it's near us, inside us, right here. A way of life, a way of living, a way of loving and life-giving. All things will be raised, though cast down they may be, and all things grown old will be new, you will see. And each one of us to perfection be brought by the light and the love that Jesus had wrought. And though we miss gathering under our steeple, we are all of us, yes, all of us, still Easter people.
And you can go to the church's YouTube channel for the entire segment. Y'all, thank you all so very much for being with us. It's great to see you out there. Thank you. And thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye. Good night. Bye.
This program is sponsored in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support the arts and culture in the greater New Orleans area. Support for Steppin Out comes in part from the Christovich family in honor of Mary Lou and Bill Christovich.